Hi everyone. Just as another comic book market update for some modern spec books that may have dipped in value, might be a buying opportunity. Just trying to take a look at some kind of newer comic books, and then just throwing in some older books from the pandemic era that may have popped big time and have since come down or no sales at all. This was a pretty interesting list for May 28th, 2024. I found a lot of books that I had on my watch list back in the day and have now since kind of fallen off. And I just kind of looked back on my records and was just kind of seeing, oh, wow, that, Captain Marvel book has come down quite a bit, or that, Avengers book has really dipped a lot. It might be time to maybe stash one away. This might be the floor. A lot of these books I'm either going to break even or lose some money on, but that's okay. Yeah, I'd rather have the cash anyway. And I hope if you guys are specking on some of these books, I hope you guys get a pretty good price on the market right now. It's definitely still a buyer's market, as people are leaving the hobby and as people are just trying to get rid of slabs of comic books that maybe they don't want anymore, just don't find any value in, just with whether it be the MCU news or just characters have fallen out of favor. There are quite a bit of newer books on this list that are nuclear as of right now. Some that I feel are validated. Some are have gotten a little too hot for my liking, where you could find opportunities in other, spec areas. And yeah, so without further ado, let's get into it. But before we do, if you could click that like button, subscribe, tell all your friends. We're trying to get to 700 subscribers. We're around 642, I believe, as of today. So yeah, the more likes I get on these shows, on these books, the more shows I'll do. If we tailor off, then I may kind of tailor back some of these videos, but I do enjoy doing them. I do enjoy sharing the information with the community. And without further ado, let's get into it. All right. So again, this was a pretty cool list to look at. I had a pretty good time looking at these books, as I always do. It's just always fun to kind of look at the current prices, the books that we were totally wrong on, or the books that we were slightly right. But we try and pat ourselves on the back like other shows do. But yeah, again, like the market is continuing to kind of decline in certain areas, specifically like the younger books. I would say younger books. I would say the younger characters are just not doing as well. I would say the safest bet is the books that have a rich story. Obviously, our ratio harder to find, but I wouldn't pay too much for some of these books just because of there's not a ton of meat left on the bone on some of these guys as of right now. So still kind of a waiting game. I've talked to a lot of LCSs around my area, and they've seen a lot of drop off in they've seen a lot of drop off in their subscribers and seen a lot of increase in collections being bought up. Now that's great for them as long as they can move them, but it's all about trying to get your margins not thin but pretty thick. And yeah, so I kind of thought of that in regard to, like, well, if a series catches fire and the whole digital, no, not as much paper, people leaving the hobby, that might make these upcoming variants, 1 in 25s, 1 in 50s, what have you, they might become even more rare because there's less people in the hobby. Now, to get people back in the hobby, that's a different story. I don't know. So just take that with a grain of salt. Something I just thought about. But yeah, I'll get into the list. The first book we're going to talk about today is The Rise of Apocalypse #1. This is your classic, origin story. Origins, I think, are always nice to pick up. If you find it in a dollar bin or a back issue bin for like cover price or something, I don't really slab. I don't really slab, you know, um, origin stories anymore because they don't really give. I mean, the origin stories are meant to be read, unless it's a really good, it's a really good cover. I'm just not gonna slab them anymore, just because again they're supposed to be read. With that said, if I really want to know the origin of like a character, let's say like Sentry, for example, his first appearance kind of starts out with an origin. Issues 1 through 5 or like tell kind of the whole origin of his story and whatnot. But I I I would pay top dollar for that just because of the want to read them so much. However, again, with a take that with a grain of salt. Yeah, I just don't like paying a lot of money for origin stories, especially ones that are pumped up by X-Men 97, for example. This here, Origin of Complex Rise of Apocalypse #1 came out a few years ago. I want to say early 2000s. I can't remember the date on this, but it's currently selling for 15 to 20, which I think isn't a huge pop. I wouldn't go out though and get this for 15 bucks and then grade it for, another 22 and risk a 9.6, 9.4. I can't find any grade anyway. So to me, that's actually a good sign that people aren't specking on this book because they want to get a 9.8. They're thinking they're going to get 100 bucks or 200 bucks off a $4 bin, book and make, $50 on a slab. I think they're getting it to read it, which is great. We need that. We need that for comic book collectors, and I think it's okay to spend some money on an origin story, but don't go too crazy. If you got the extra 15 bucks and you really want to get it, I'd probably just get it in trade paperback, honestly, or maybe even buy it in digital, just because you're going to read the origin. They might retell the origin. I don't know what they're going to do in X-Men 97, so there's a risky part of that as well. There's not really any first appearances in this series anyway. But, yet again, the art's pretty cool. I haven't read this in a long time, but I do remember enjoying it, and Apocalypse is probably one of my favorite villains other than Mr. Sinister, and I haven't looked at any Mr. Sinister books lately, but I gotta imagine that since he was not killed off, but just kind of put to the side, there's probably not a lot of focus on him anymore, what have you. So, yeah, Rise of Apocalypse #1, 15 to 20 bucks, and, yeah, we'll go on to the next one. Doom #1. Now, this is the heater of the past week or so. This book's like 60 pages, so it may fall into the whole Ultimate Spider-Man kind of notion that people aren't going to want to spend, 6.99, 7.99 on a 90-page book. They want that kind of quick flash type deal. So maybe I don't know stores ordered a ton of these. I know one of my local LCSs only ordered 10 of them. They sold out really quick, but he only had 10. So I actually was looking for this as well just to read it. I really want to spec on it. It's like it's fun reading books again. I'm really digging the Blood Hunt story and some independent issues, but I'm not spending a ton of money on books. This one I was trying to look for. I was like, 30 bucks just seems a little out of my price range. So I actually found this on digital. I haven't read it yet, but I'm excited to. With that said, this is selling for 30 to 40 bucks on the Bay. There's a Grana variant, but there's also trade dress to go along with that. The Virgin variant is a 1 in 100. So it's going for like I want to say last time I saw it was like 250, and it's beautiful. I mean, it's a really if you're a Doom fan and you just have an extra 200 bucks to spend on a book that's really pretty, go for it. But it's gonna be tough at 9.8 for one, and two, you might get away with the whole, like, not many issues of this being ordered, but I don't know. I'm happy with the successes it's having as a story and art-wise, but spec-wise, it's a mini series, I believe, so who knows if this will trail off after issue 5. I know a lot of people aren't ordering a ton of Ultimate Spider-Man going forward right now, so that kinda tells you with this newer spec, it's kinda tough to hold on to some of these books. You might as well just get rid of it right away, but, if you wanna read it, I heard it's a really good read. Maybe buy a digital and just see how it goes on the first issue. I've done that a lot with a lot of books lately where I don't really know if I want to buy the paper, put it in a bag and board, and then store it, and then have to move it. I'd rather just enjoy it like while I'm on the road or waiting for my drive-through food. So anyway, again, thanks everyone for the support lately. We've been growing the channel quite a bit. I added a homie Darth Lopez into the show. He's gonna join us every once in a while, maybe not every week, but yeah, we're up at 442 subscribers. We started the show about a year and a half ago, and it's been a pretty fun ride. We'll keep doing it until we get bored of it or it just becomes too stressful. But again, yeah, I just want to thank everyone for contributing to the support of the channel. And again, we'll keep doing these as we go forward, as long as you guys like them. All right, next book. And again, keeping the current ties is Blood Hunt #2, the ratio variant. I just read the Blood Hunt #2 book, and The ending of issue 2 was pretty cool. It wasn't as great as issue 1, but man, I'm very excited for the next book. I actually reread number 1 to much enjoyment. I'm not getting the side, issues as well. I'm not really following it like I have other titles, but yeah, this book is really fun. With that said, this number 2 variant, it's a ratio 1 to 25, I want to say. It's going for $200 on recent sales. That's a lot. The first issue went up to 167. I posted that on one video last week. I can't remember exactly what video it was, but which is also like a ton of money. I don't know if there's enough money to kind of keep this trend going. I mean, 3 figures for a book back to back. That's great for the popularity of the run, but as far as the investability of this book, I'm apprehensive. Doesn't really do anything for me as far as like art wise. It is Wolverine, but I can't even think of like him being in the story that much. So I'm not really sure why they used Wolverine as the cover for this book. It's a really cool looking cover. To be honest, it's kind of got that old school font. You kind of get that POV perspective. But other than that, like if I saw this on a wall and I saw it for like $50, like sticker, and I didn't know anything about it, like, on the bay or anything like that, I don't think I would invest in this book. But regardless, there's a couple sales currently right now going for like 167. So if you got this at ratio for like $50 or whatever, like great job, you're making some money. I'd probably flip it personally. I just feel like there's better opportunities out there. But Blood Hunt number 2, the ratio variant, and on to the next. Kind of going back a little bit, quote unquote, old school. Future First number 1. This is the variant cover. This particular picture has some spine ticks on it. This is the White Fox Virgin variant, 1 in 100. I always try and keep like future comic characters like CD and E character, level characters to put on the list or just kind of think about in the background. This is probably White Fox's best cover. It's not her first appearance. It's not really a key issue, quote unquote. But yeah, Jae-hyun Lee was killing it on all these Future First Virgin variants. I remember I got one. I paid about $100 for it, and it was really nice. It got a 9.8. I was pretty happy, but it hasn't really gone up since then. It's held value okay. There's currently one raw on eBay for 4.25. It's a really tough high grade because obviously the black cover. If you have a 9.8, which I personally do, I might post it. I'm not sure. It's going to take a while for White Fox to come into the MCU if she ever does. There's a pretty high probability that she will. I believe she's Korean, so that's a pretty big portion of the world to cater to, which is great. But yeah, I didn't see a lot of sales for this. However, I haven't seen a lot of listings either on eBay. So good luck out there, Future First number 1. You might be able to grab this at a discount. Like I said, there's a live auction right now going for 4.25 with a few days left. I might actually post mine for 10 days and do the whole start of $1 and just hope someone wants to buy it for $100. We'll see, but maybe I'll post it on Instagram and see in the chat if people or seeing if the community wants this on auction or whatever. So good luck if you're hunting for this. If you're holding on to it, good luck as well. Killmonger 2, the Dekal variant. I remember seeing this book go on Whatnot for 4 figures, $1,000. It was the craziest auction I think I ever saw during the quote unquote pandemic era. Excuse me, 1 second. I need a sip. You got a beautiful cover paired with an amazing character and an amazing artist. I don't know what the print run on this was. I feel like this was one of those books that I don't know, people I think just didn't know about it. And then once people brought it to attention, it garnered a lot of attention. And I think people just wanted it just to say they had it. It wasn't really like, I'm going to hold this for investment value. It's going to go from 1,000 to like 2. And then just copies came out of nowhere. I remember my LCS never has copies like this ever. And all of a sudden they had a bunch of freaking copies coming out of the woodwork. And the supply just hit them. Supply and demand just was not, they weren't correlating with each other. So this wasn't a really rare book. And I don't know, I feel like a lot of Marlins aren't necessarily rare anymore. Um, but supply and demand is a big thing, right? It doesn't really matter if a book's rare or very common. If people want it and there's more people that are willing to pay more than the other person, then it's gonna go for a lot of money. With that said, this is going for like $80 raw, which is just heartbreaking. If you paid $1,000 for this raw, I see one for 45 currently on eBay. So if you're looking for this currently, you might be able to get a pretty good deal. I think 45 is definitely like a great entry point into this. I've seen 98s asking for 200 and no bids on that. So I don't know if the Killmonger spec kind of killed this book at all. I don't think it really did, because I look at this and I feel like if you're a Dekal fan, this is probably one of those you'd be really cool to get signed. You get signed right below the Killmonger there. Or if you're a Killmonger or Black Panther universe fan, you're going to want this book. Nonetheless, I don't see anything really pushing this up. I don't see any anyone going like live and trying to sell this book and trying to push it. But nonetheless, yeah, it's a beautiful cover, and we do appreciate the book. Killmonger number 2, the Dekal variant. On to the next one. That's the wrong mouse. All right, Static Shock Rebirth of the Cool. Now again, this is like one of those. I think under like 15,000 issues, or like low 10,000s or high 10,000s. So yeah, again, short print second series. It's a second series, right? So it's the DC with the milestone imprint. So you have that kind of going for you. I think the cover's really nice. It's a really beautiful comic that, to be honest, the story was kind of lacked. And I think it's because it was only a 4-issue miniseries. I really did enjoy the Dakota run this past week or so, or past year. Again, it ended just so soon. It was kind of bothersome. I have a 98. I took I kind of swung for the fences on this one. I actually got this book for a lot less than I thought I would have to pay for it. However, I'm kind of regretting that. I feel like I could have put that money to better books and maybe got this for a lesser amount. But now, I didn't even look at sales for this book, but let's take a look real quick. Okay. Cool. Stash. Can't even type. Okay. See, one's asking for 1320. There's another one asking 899. See, people don't. I think there's not really like a good indicator of like what this should be going for. I mean, this guy's got it for. Okay, that's a 9.6. So people are just kind of like, well, I had a really big buy-in, I guess. I don't know, 9.6. So this double guy went for 250. However, there's not that many sales either. So yeah, this is a tough one for me. I think this is like one of those. I feel like I was happy with the purchase because I like Static Shock and I have a lot of faith in Static Shock. But and then the Static Shock cartoon. Who knows that Max may be able to do another Static Shock cartoon. I think be really great for the character. There's not video games for this character though, which kind of sucks. There's a lot of creative like rights with Milestone and Static Shock. It just really sucks that they haven't figured it out. I really hope they do one day. But nonetheless, Static Shock number 1, Rebirth of the Cool. This was kind of a tough one for me to like report on the market because there's just not that much data on it. And I feel like people bought this book or have kind of an idea of how much it should go for, but they're not going to sell it. I think they're going to hold on to it, whether it's because they like Static Shock or they're waiting till a live action show comes on or just more news. But yeah, it's in my collection for sure. One that I was actually shocked at when I was looking at prices for this. I don't really remember like solid prices for this book. Let's just $800. During the pandemic, that sounds like fair. But this book is super rare. Evidently, I don't see that many listings on them. When I had to try and find listings, it was kind of coupled with like regular, like Miss Marvel, not Kamala, comic books, and it was really tough to find this data. But yeah, 650 for a 9.6 recently going for. I thought that was very interesting. Yeah, the values held pretty well. People are asking 200 bucks for a raw. I don't know what the condition on those raws were, but it's a really beautiful cover. I mean, I never really speculated hard on Miss Marvel because kind of missed the entry point. But if you are speculating on her and are going after like covers, I think this is like her best one. So that's maybe why it's going for so much money. Um, it's kind of funny that it's going more for like, well, no, that's not right. There's arguments about her first appearance too, right? So that kind of throws off her first appearance stuff. Um, but yeah, nonetheless, man, I thought it was really cool that they're doing this book, or this book's doing so well. I don't know what a 9.8's going for, and I didn't even see any listings from what I saw today. But I gotta imagine if a 9.6 is going for 650, and this might be hitting like 15 to 2,000. Who knows? But I don't want to pay that much for it. But who knows? Miss Marvel, the bubblegum cover, number two, issue number two. This one was my buy on the low candidate. Young Avengers number one. This is a Doc Joe favorite, I would say. We were talking about this in the Discord, and he was like, "Yeah, he." When I don't know if I mentioned it or I just saw a listing for it, and he was like, "Yeah, that's a definitely a buy." I don't know if he actually bought the book in for that amount, but yeah, 196 is what the last sold for this for. I saw this raw at a comic book store for 300 bucks. So kind of tells you where the market's at with this book. Nonetheless, I mean, there's a ton of first appearances in this. The cover is sick. I really enjoyed the series too. I wouldn't buy the series for like the market price where it's at. Maybe get the trade paperback because it's a really good series. You got some really, you got some really easily casted characters in this book in this series. So if you're looking for a deal on this Young Avengers number one, I think 100% like 196 bucks ain't too bad. It may not, who knows? I mean, comic speculation by the time these guys come out, maybe done. But for 196, I think it's worth the gamble if you got the extra money. You don't know where to park it. I'm sitting on a couple that I bought for like I think 80 bucks a piece, and they're both 9.8s. So I would probably break even if I sold them. But I don't know, man. I got faith in Young Avengers just because I thought the story was really good. They've done a pretty good job with the MCU. Kate Bishop, and if that's the route they're taking, they just got to make some improvements here and there and just keep growing the characters. So I think there's potential with this book. Definitely some meat left on the bone. If you get a 9.6, I think you can get that for under like 100 bucks and maybe CPR that bad boy. That might be the way to go as well. Again, it's a little risky there, but yeah, nonetheless, Young Avengers number one, and on to the next book. But before we go on to the next book, again, I just want to thank everyone for supporting our channel. If you could like this video, it really helps with the algorithm, of course. It'll help me determine whether I should do more of these videos or if you just stick with the live show. But I do enjoy like kind of sharing the notes with the community and kind of keeping up with the market currently and doing this weekly thing. I am doing a video game report every Thursday is what I'm shooting for. But yeah, with that said, yeah, hit that like button for me. Subscribe to all your friends. We'll do more giveaways as we hit 700 subscribers. I did post on my YouTube that I may be giving away a Wembenyama SI card. So we'll see, man. Okay, on to the next. Witchblade Ace Edition number one. My buddy Dak was saying that, Witchblade's coming back. They're going to do new series. That was just like one of my favorite rereads ever, along with The Darkness. I just loved that universe back in the day. And I remember these Ace Editions were being sold by Wizard. So you have to get like a Wizard coupon, send a check in or money order because I was a kid and didn't have checks. And you get this Ace Edition cover. And it was acetate. It was a new thing. They did chrome. They did different like, materials, but acetate was like this really cool new thing. And this is my favorite Ace Edition cover out of all of them. It's a reprint of Witchblade number one. I'm sure there was a ton of these ordered, but there was a signed version. And the signed version just recently went for 80 bucks. Now, the reason I got it is I already have this book in 9.8, but I feel that with the onset of JSA being taken over by CGC, you're going to see more raws being sent, more authenticated comic books in general. If you get a signed version of this in really good, a really good grade, this might be worth it to add to your collection. I don't know if for sure the JSA authentication is going to make this pop up in value, but the Ace Edition goes for like 20 to 30 bucks. It's purely just like there's no speculation on my point. Who knows? One day they may option this. I don't know. That show was horrible back in the day, but um, I don't know. Female heroines in independent, studios, they're top cows. I know they got Mark Silvestri, who just, he heads that company still. So I don't know what the rights with Michael Turner's estate work out, but man, that'd be really cool if there was a Witchblade series or even a cartoon just to bring back that universe. Man, I think it'd be really rich. I could see them doing like a HBO show, being really dark and bring the darkness into it as well. So, um, but yeah, Witchblade #1, the heroine goodness from back in the 90s. Young Avengers, the Hans variant. This is our last book of the day. This was a tough one for me. I remember seeing this on like I think of Mr. Lawn Short. Shout out to you, Mr. Lawn Short. When it comes to bubblegum covers, and this is the second Young Avengers series. You got America Chavez is blowing bubblegum in the air, not Miss Marvel. Hans is a funny artist. I think that's probably why this book didn't do so well coming out the gate, because they look creepy. They look something is killing the children. Is what this art kind of reminds me of. But it's a bubblegum cover, and bubblegum enthusiasts really like the bubblegum stuff. So I feel like you get this at a bargain, and I wouldn't pay more than $30 for this personally, because I'm not really a bubblegum like fanatic, and this Hans just does really weird covers. People want $200 for this book, and I remember seeing a 98 go for 500. So again, kind of tells you where the market is for certain books. Those books have obviously gone down quite a bit. But I don't know. This was like like I said, like there's not a lot of like supply and demand for dollar wise isn't really meeting the market. I'd be curious to see what like an auction would go for this book. It's Young Avengers, I think #2. I want to say it might be #1. I think it's a 1 in 50 as well. But yeah, I remember this book was doing so well back in the day just because of the bubblegum aspect, Young Avengers, and all that stuff. So, but yeah, pretty enjoyable stuff. All right, everyone, that's the end of our list for May 28th, 2024. Happy Memorial Day. Hope you guys enjoyed this show. If you guys did enjoy the show, please click that like button. It really helps out with the algorithm, helps us determine whether or not we should do more of these shows. Hit that like button, subscribe, tell all your friends. We'll do more giveaways as we get closer to 700 subscribers. And again, I want to thank everyone for their continued support as we try and get monetization status. We're about 500 hours away. So keep clicking on those past market reports as well, and the video game reports. I'll do a video game report in a couple days. You'll have a great start to your week. We'll see you next time.